that some of my parents, I'm trying to think of various different things. So for example, the science fair is perfect. Mm-hmm. So the science fair, and I've done science fairs in multiple places, but the science fair is on Friday evening. Mm-hmm. Some of my parents might not have the time, but you already took the step to enroll your child in a STEAM program for summer. Mm-hmm. Right, so you want your child to learn science.
Was that a free program, or do they have to contribute?
They do have to contribute.
Okay.
And so that means I know that you care. But maybe you don't have time, like you're saying, at home to do the project. Mm-hmm. So I've communicated to them, hey, let me know. Maybe some families might do it at home and some families won't. Let me know, and we will do a project in our classroom, because our schedule is a bit more flexible than school would be, right? And so then on Friday, you as a parent, you come, everyone will have a project, but you as a parent, you come and encourage your child and get excited when you see your child's project.
Oh, right.
Right? So that doesn't take power away from the parent that works with them and says, hey, so I know you're busy, but you and I work together. You get to make the decision where we do the project. I'm not telling you, oh, you don't have time and so I'll do it. No. I sent an email.
I'm
you
still
make the decision.
Encouraging you to be a part of this process.
Okay? And you let me know what you need me to do.
You've had experience with child services, haven't you?
A little bit here and there.
Because you're doing completely the opposite. You're looking at it from the family's point of view, and you're not cutting off their legs.
You can't. Because the thing is that another thing that happens is that child starts to ID that. Okay, so if something is wrong with my family, right, let's just get real and drop the tone for a second, right? If something is wrong with my family, there's no way I'm not internalizing that as something is wrong with me.
Wow. This is powerful.
So I have to say, and I'm very particular when I address families, when I address parents. I try not to, I'm a little old school. Like I told you, I'm half Asian, right? And both of my parents were in the military. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of old school kind of things to me, right?
And a young soul.
Yeah, so when I address parents, I address you, mommy, daddy, in front of your child.
Yes.
I'm not addressing you. I don't tend to address just the first
Mary,
name.
Or Miss so-and-so, Mr. so-and-so.
Yes, because there's a difference. Like I'm constantly
be respectful.
Being respectful and constantly thinking about how my treatment of your parent in front of you
is impacting this child.
Does something. Is very important.
Wow, let me just turn this mic up a little bit. I hope everyone's listening to these pearls of wisdom that are being dropped by Stephanie Farmer. She is the founder, the creator of Miss Steph's Science Club.
Yes.
So what gave you that? I mean, what sparked you to do that? Who was that person in your life that gave you...
So, you know how the divine will use, right? You know, God uses people.
Absolutely.
To say, you should be doing this. And so I went through some various experiences, which we don't really have time to share right now. But I was transitioning out of the nonprofit that I was working for. Mm-hmm. And then I found out that they were not, for various reasons, they weren't going to be able to run a summer program. But I had run their summer program, and I knew all those students. Wow. And I thought to myself, okay, well, they're not going to have a place to go. And I shared that with a friend. I was doing a performance with a friend. Her name is Aziza. She runs a program called Deaf Dance Jam Workshop. Okay. Up in Harlem. She does some phenomenal things. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, Miss Stephanie, you should open your own program. I looked at her like she's crazy. That.
But you'd already been doing it for somebody else.
I had.
So it seemed like a natural progression.
So she was the impetus for that particular time. But then a couple of years back, I had gone to some training because, little known fact, you do need to get some training for... when you're running an after school, there's some specifics that you can learn.
You have to be licensed.
Different licenses and different things. And so my instructor there, Professor Travis, she had way back given me, this was like 5 or 6 years ago, when I finished her course, she'd given me this key. It was symbolic. She said, this is your key to your own center. Meanwhile, this was back when I was running the other center, right? And I looked at her like she was crazy too. But all of those things have come together. You know, my family has been very supportive. My brother and my father, very supportive, encouraging me to just do whatever I want, especially my brother. And I'm sure he's listening now.
Oh, say hi to your brother then.
Hi, Jeff. Because I want to say that's probably him, J Farm.
Oh, yes.
Top supporter.
Wow.
And it's not just about finances. It's about saying, you know, he'll call me. He say, you can do this. Like, you're the best. And, you know, he's one of the smartest people I know.
But I think, Stephanie, anyone who reaches our children, because they're not, that the playing field isn't level, and anyone who can attempt to shift the balance to make the playing field level, I mean, I've got goosebumps. I mean, the maximum respect, because I think that's the most important thing that anybody can do in their life, apart from, I don't know, because these are future generations.
Exactly.
To make them
What are we going to
self-sufficient.
have if we don't support them and we don't train them up properly? That's what the word talks about.
Train a child the way they should go,
And
when they're older, they will not depart therefrom.
Right.
So they got, yes, it is him.
Yeah.
He's saying hi, sis. Okay.
right?
Amazing.
I mean, and one of the things that is specific about my program that, good Lord willing, if we do replicate, it has to be done properly. The ratio, the small. We're very small. Mm-hmm. And people have to understand, when you contribute to that very small program, it makes a world of difference. Because that child who can really have one-on-one interaction with me, with my staff, small groups,
Builds
groups
up
of
confidence.
5, groups of 10, it makes a difference. But when you get too big, even 25 is a lot. It's a lot. When you have 25 little people and they all have their different personalities, it's a lot to expect them. I want to learn the exact same way I'm teaching their neighbor. That's really what's happening at school. And it's because, I mean, we have so many kids, we have to do something. But when you have these programs, that's why I want to encourage people when they're giving to understand. Yes, it's a small program, but the impact is massive on each child.
And not just the child, by extension, the family.
The whole,
who
the
see
family.
the children getting energized and excited,
Yes.
and it lifts the whole family. How many
does.
times have you heard those stories? I'm the first one to go to college.
Right.
in my
I'm the
family.
first to do this, or I'm the first to do that. You know, and one thing when I look at a child, I look at their purpose, their potential. What can they be? Mm-hmm. You know, one of my students, he loves Legos. One of my current students. Mm-hmm. He loves Legos, and so when I look at him, I see an engineer. So I'm constantly speaking that over him. Hello, my engineer. How are you? What are you doing? And constantly reminding him his family. It's a very peaceful family. And anytime there's any discrepancy in his behavior from what I know his family is, I tell him, no, remember who your family is. Wow. Your family has a respect, and it adjusts him. And he's like, oh, okay. Your family expects you to behave a certain way here.
And this is what our children need, and this is where the village has fallen down, because we've come into an alien space and we've left those values behind.
Yes.
We've adopted this persona, every man for himself.
And that is not it.
Doesn't work for us. I mean, I remember just coming from UK, where you had whole communities of one family houses which were rented out, because back in the day no white person was going to rent to a black person. So eventually people got together through their partners or their susus and started buying their houses, and they would rent to themselves. But everybody in
my
that
father's
house
family did that
was
here
like
in
a
Brooklyn.
community. So that whole community helped to raise the children. Yes, there was abuses going on, which people are speaking out about now.
Right.
But that spirit of community, to know that you had to straighten up and fly right, because even if your parents weren't around, Miss Jones down the road was looking at you.
Yes.
So when you were going to school, your skirt better be in the right place.
And my students, that's why I say I'm kind of old school, because my students are like that. My students that know me from the program I used to run, and, you know, some of them work for me now. Some of them are used to work for me at that old program and now are married to each other. And they, yes. And
really? So can I come volunteer with you?
You're hilarious.
Okay, so you're not running a dating agency, you're running a science club.
Science program. But still, you know, only that to say is that it's a community. I keep in touch with them. I keep in touch with their families. I saw a family in Starbucks the other day. You know, I said, hello, you're so...
So it's just based in Harlem right now?
Right now we're in Harlem.
So tell us, because it sounds as though you really want to get the funding off the ground. You really want people
that's
to
an
donate,
important part.
because
yes,
you have your quota of children already. Because a program like this, I can't imagine that you're not oversubscribed.
Right.
So you really need the funding.
Yes, because when we look at, okay, let's say, like, what about what it looks like to expand? We can't expand yet.
Right.
Because we don't have enough.
The building that you're actually in,
yes.
Do you pay rent for that, or is it donated?
Right now I do some donation.
Okay.
But it's actually the church that I go to now.
Right. So tell people
actually
where,
how
where
I know
you're
Charmaine.
based. Oh, the church in Harlem.
Yes.
That's the same church?
Yes.
Amazing. I'm telling you, nothing
all
is
of
by coincidence.
No, it is not.
It's all
Always,
by divine
my father
inspiration.
used to say, in divine order.
Yes, divine order.
Right?
Oh, my goodness. Now, she didn't tell me that when she told me about
No,
you. But it wouldn't have made any difference.
Right.
Charmaine herself is an amazing person.
Yes.
She needs to come back on the show. But
Big up
she's
to Limation. Let me just throw out there, Limation, if you look for Limation.
Okay,
yes.
so this is my
Charmaine
sister and my brother-in-law who are logged in from London. I don't know what they're still doing up. Is it a bank holiday tomorrow?
Right, right.
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning for them. They're saying they need Steph. They need you in the UK. Because I know they're having major problems, especially with young black boys. And this is
Yes.
an issue that's ongoing. And also here, too. If you notice the stats that are out, that more and more black boys especially are being excluded from classes and sent out of class because of behavioral issues.
Right, and that's what I was mentioning earlier, because you have that child who, for whatever reason, may have a behavior situation in class, and it's this balance. Okay, well, how do I keep you in class because I want you to learn, but the behavior is it distracting others, right? But because of how we've gotten away from the way that we govern ourselves, right? There, that formula of how to discipline children. It's a formula instead of just this motherly way of doing it,
kids,
right? Yeah. And the way that we as black people, frankly, address our children is different, right? And so I can't do that in the classroom because I know that will straighten you up very quickly.
But why
I will call your mother because it's being worked out of the classroom system. It's not welcome.
So what would happen if you did it? You get written up by your principal?
Not necessarily written up, but not encouraged, and you won't. I mean, being invited back the next school year.
You wouldn't get tenure.
No.
Seriously? So then that's what the issue is.
Yes.
They're taking teaching out of the teaching process.
Right.
Teaching is not just teaching. And they need to understand that when you're dealing with humanity, when you're dealing with humankind, we're not talking about robots. We're talking about little people, which is what children are. They're little people. Yes, they have rights, but at the same time, they need guidance.
Right, because they're not developed yet.
They're not developed. So, I mean,
so
some things
I'm
that
your
my
steward. I have to
25-year-old
raise
daughter does, I'm like, are you stupid? Yeah, I tell her that, which is not... Because did you think, before you did that, they still need guidance? Even I need guidance. And so I'm like, did I do that?
And the elders. We don't have a lot of elders at school that I worked for, which respectfully, I won't say the name right now, but I was one of the older staff.
Wow.
And I'll freely share I'm 35. I was one of the older staff.
So what happens? They get
they
push people out?
People get pushed out, or it's so much...
They get burned out.
Yeah, they get burned out. But I was one of the older staff people. And I know that that's not uncommon to that school. That's common. And so you're getting a younger and younger person instead of a cross section.
Right.
Because if it takes a village, it takes all of those stages of the village.
Absolutely. And then maybe children are not going to relate to someone your age, but they may relate to someone who's my age.
Right. Or maybe they might relate to someone younger.
So you need,
And guess what? They might not relate to that person all the time. For example, I have a young woman who works with me. She's in her early 20s. And then I have teens. So we say tag. What I'll tell them is, if I'm saying something to the group and they're not getting it, or one of my students isn't getting it, I'll say tag so and so, because maybe they need to hear it from the 17-year-old male that works for me.
Tell me more about tag.
So I literally tag. So I'll tell them tag. So I might say an announcement, and it might be disciplinary, right? And I can tell that they're not hearing it from me. Maybe 95% of the time they can always hear it from me. Okay, but that 5% of the time they're not hearing it. So I'll say tag. I'll look at my staff person. We have eye contact. We have a way of communicating. When I say tag, that staff person knows, okay, I need to say it.
Wow, and that works?
Yes.
Reinforcement?
Because children, just like people, I may share something with you and it makes sense to you, but this other person over here
doesn't get it.
Yes.
Wow.
So I can't
Where
be
did you
so
get your-
big-headed
Where did you get your? And it's just
that
so
I
natural.
think it has to be me. I don't.
But there's no ego involved.
That's from the Lord. I'm sorry. There's no other way I can say that. You know, just because I know this is my calling. This is what
You were meant to do.
This is what I'm meant to do. This is why I